Well, on that note, let us begin with our first session. We delve into the pivotal role of state governments in propelling digital payments within rural India and agriculture, however, showcasing how the strategic policies can empower financial inclusion and uplift livelihoods. Join us in understanding how regional leadership drives the digital revolution at the grassroots level. Today, we're looking at the topic being the role of state governments in promoting digital payments in rural India and agriculture. On that note, I'd like to welcome both of our dignitaries. First up, for an amazing fireside chat, which I'm sure is going to be a great discussion between both of them. Our moderator of the chat being Mr. Dharmender Jhamb, partner FS Consulting Grant Thornton. Let's give Mr. Jhamb a warm round of applause and welcome him on the stage. And joining us for the chat is going to be Dr. Neil Jain, IRS Director, Regional Office, UIDAI. Let's give our gentleman a warm round of applause. So for the next 30 minutes, there's going to be a lot of great insights coming in, and of course, curated by Mr. Jhamb. Over to you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So thank you so much. And GFF, the agenda is that how can we grow the sustainable financial inclusion in country and present India as a role model for sustainable digital financial inclusion. So, and topic cannot be more relevant that states payments or agriculture payments. We have seen penetration of UPI in merchant payments, P2P payments, but how this can be taken to the agriculture sector, like farmer producers organization, ENAMs, the actually Anaj bandis or the trading place where farmer sells his produces in the local markets, how that can be digitized and a sustainable ecosystem can be built on the financial inclusion, particularly on UPI, wallets and Aadhaar, which is fundamental to everything. So I'd like to kind of discuss and start with, we all know Aadhaar. Aadhaar has created an ecosystem in terms of creating a foundation through which all fintechs, almost all the fintechs are doing the KYC using Aadhaar. And this has created, if Aadhaar wouldn't have been there, the journey that we are seeing of fintech and financial inclusion would be very slow. So this has created a really good infrastructure in terms of a national ID system. So my first discussion point would be that what's next? Now Aadhaar has created eKYC, and what's next? Aadhaar can play a role in further identifying the use cases for financial inclusion or deepening the financial services at the rural level, at the agriculture level.
Good morning, Dharmender, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this lovely session and a very rainy Mumbai this morning. I think it's brought down the heat a bit, though it's quite warm inside. So greetings from Uttar Pradesh, the largest demographic state in the country. We could say that we have 1/5 of India's population in our state, a state with huge potential. And as you've been hearing in the last few years, inviting investors, inviting people to invest in our state, and a state which is making great strides. As our Chief Minister says, that a 1 trillion economy, which is in consonance with the 5 trillion economy which our Honorable Prime Minister says about India. So just to tell you about, or recapitulate, most of you would already know it. In terms of technology in public service, there are 3 pillars, as I would call it. They are steps rather. The first is Aadhaar, which is a basis, as the English translation, and that's who I am. I am who I am. It gives an identity. It gives a digital identity to everyone. So as you would know, that almost the entire population in India has an Aadhaar card. It's ubiquitous. We use it everywhere to check in at airports, to make payments. So that is Aadhaar. The second step is UPI, financial mobility, which has built on Aadhaar, which has provided residents, what we call residents in India, people in India and abroad now, the option to pay seamlessly, instantly. It's given huge, as what we call the Jan Dhan Aadhaar and mobility, the JAM, as our Prime Minister says. Now the third step, I would come to the third step later. Now on these two steps, we have what we call great strides in agriculture, which is still the mainstay of our economy. Most of our workforce in India is employed in agriculture. And you would know that agriculturists don't have the literacy, and they don't have the means to access those services which you or I in a metropolis would be able to use. But again, thanks to their technology and public delivery, for example, in the Prime Minister's crop insurance scheme, the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, as they call it officially, more than 25 lakh farmers have applied, and these are stats, these are official stats. They have applied for the crop insurance scheme. And this is built on UPI, and this is built on Aadhaar, right? And this helps them to insure their crops, for both the Kharif and the Rabi season. Kharif season is where, you plant rice, the paddy, and the Rabi is for the wheat. Then we have a DigiClaim module. Now, this is something which has been built by the National Crop Insurance Portal and the PFMS, the Public Finance Management System, where, almost 1,200 crores have been dispersed in 6 states, which includes Uttar Pradesh. And in UP, we have an endeavor where we are trying to link, because you need a mobile number for most of these services. So we are trying to link, we're trying to get farmers to link their mobile numbers on the Aadhaar, so that the twin pillars, the twin steps, Aadhaar as well as the mobile numbers, so that they can avail the benefits. Now, another thing which I would like to mention over here is the PM Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme, right? The PM Kisan scheme. This, as you would know, that provides around 6,000 rupees to every farmer, to tide over difficulties. And as of now, over 4 crore farmers in Uttar Pradesh have availed this scheme. And this scheme wouldn't have been possible if the farmer did not have an Aadhaar card and his number was not linked to the Aadhaar card. So this is with regard to agriculture, what we are doing over here. And coming to the next point, in UP, because I am part of the Uttar Pradesh Aadhaar Administrative Office, we have done, and I was collating my numbers, because day to day we don't know the numbers. I was collating the numbers last week. We've done 2.17 transactions, Aadhaar transactions as we call it. 2.17 crore Aadhaar transactions means we've got 2.17 Aadhaar updates and mobile linkages over the last year. 2.17 crores is a huge number. And of this huge number, exclusive mobile linkages have been 41 lakhs by IBPP, and I'll come to IBPP later. So we need to speak about that wonderful story as well. So 41 lakh mobile numbers have been linked by IBPP in UP, and most of them are for the farmers in the lower class.
This is really impressive. And one area where I'm we all are aware that financial inclusion or digital financial inclusion has started 10 years back, when I think we all started using our smartphone for making payments after IMPS and then UPI was launched, and before that wallet was there. Wanted to understand that the traditional way of or our reach at the village level was Gram Dakghar, which was a kind of every villager's point for any kind of communication as well as banking. They used to do deposits, they used to do transactions at Gram Dakghar. So how this new, I would say, new avatar of banking in terms of Indian Postal Payments Bank and versus all the other payments bank and the fintechs which are being there, how this Indian payments post payments bank is creating a kind of differentiating experience for villagers to start making digital payments. The penetration of digital payments is required to be, because urban area people have adopted, but in rural areas, how IBP can create a advantage so that the rural or the villages at the block level people start using digital payments, start using savings, lending, insurance, wealth management, bill payments, all those digitally. So how this can play a differentiated role? This is really interesting for us to know.
Yeah, IBPP is a beautiful story. You know, before, I must admit, before I came in on deputation, I'm on a deputation assignment to Aadhaar. So my core service is Revenue Service, Indian Revenue Service. So before I came to Aadhaar, I had no clue about IBPP. And coincidentally, when I joined Aadhaar around 2.5 years back, we were asked to promote IBPP. So I did a little bit of study. I met the people who are engaged in IBPP. So IBPP, as you would know, is part of the Ministry of Posts, but it's a private structure. So I would call it, in some ways, it's a beautiful PPP architecture, where you have the private sector, the CEO is from the private sector. It works under the guidelines of the Ministry of Posts, and it delivers, apart from private services, it delivers government service as well. And it's in UP especially, it's been a beautiful story. You know, I think in 2020, just after the COVID, 2021, Aadhaar was mandated, IBP was mandated to do two things with respect to Aadhaar. One was to give child enrollments, every child who is between 0 and 5 age, if they want an Aadhaar, make an Aadhaar enrollment. And the second was to provide mobile update facility to link their Aadhaar with their mobile. Now, and how are they doing it? They don't recruit people from outside. They use postman, the next door friendly neighborhood postman who comes and delivers dark, which somehow in the age of emails and SMS and WhatsApp chats has gone down. But there's still, you would know that still in a lot of tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities and villages, the postman is a guy who links everyone in that town or a village. So the problem statement which we had was, for a child enrollment for Aadhaar or a mobile update service, the person, the resident as we call them, had to come over to an Aadhaar center. He had to leave his farm, he had to leave carrying a child between 0 to 5 years to a city, to an Aadhaar enrollment center or a CHC center, common service center. That was a bit of a task. So why not take the services to them? Deliver the service right at the doorstep level, as we call it. And so, most of the time, after delivering the dark means the post, the mail, the postman doesn't have much to do. So we gave them the mobile, install the app IBPP, we put a tab of our Aadhaar, linked it to our Aadhaar app. Now when the postman goes over there, he can, to the doorstep, to the village, to the community area, to the panchayat, under the people tree, he can provide that service right there for both Aadhaar enrollment and mobile linkages. And it's been so successful. And for that, IBPP gives them some incentives, because we give them an amount of money for every enrollment which is done. And that incentive is passed on to well-performing dark sevaks. And in UP at least, we are doing around 1 to 1.5 lakh enrollments every month. And we are doing around 2 to 3 lakh updates every month. It's something which we should appreciate, Though we shouldn't, bask in the glory, because in UP, around 5 to 6 lakh children are born every month. And it's a huge challenge for us, that to want to give every child an Aadhaar. You might have heard about the Missing Child project, where that's a separate story, but I'll just briefly mention it, that children who are lost and who are in orphanages, if they are taken by the orphanages to an Aadhaar center for enrollment, and using if they already had an Aadhaar but were unable to, reproduce the card because they were lost or they were part of a trafficking scandal, then we use the data to retrieve the original Aadhaar, and then we get them to reunite with their parents. And this has been applauded no less by the Prime Minister himself in the Gujarat Digital India Week, which happened in Gujarat a couple of years ago, where in fact he met with a child who had been reunited with his parents. And for this, we've been using the help of the police, the Railway Protection Force, and it's been a huge success story.
So this is really impressive, and particularly this post offices have a kind of level of trust that Dak Sevak who goes at the doorstep, he has a trust. So in the delivering financial services, the trust factor is really important, which is actually already there with Dak Sevak, and it's really a tremendous use case for first time users. That you said that your 1.5 lakh new registrations, that means you are encouraging 1.5 lakh new enrollments to make digital payments. It's really impressive, and I think I give you an example. So the large fintechs for merchant account opening, the one of the large 3 fintechs in UPI space, they enroll like 5 to 6 lakh merchants every month. So this is, and they're spending huge amount of investment for doing this. And Indian Postal Payment Bank and doing it in the last mile is really impressive. And this is the next step. I think it should be accelerated and more. One thing which is really important as an agriculture use case, I'll come to the fraud area, but agriculture use case, we all are availing loans using lending is the new buzzword, because digital lending and payment has reached a maturity or is progressing, but digital lending is the focus as of now. Now farmers who need crop loans, like for purchasing their seeds and for the shorter period, and after the crop season, when they sell their crops in the marketplace, they can get the funds and then they can repay the crop loans. How that, I would say, the working capital or the capital they need for the crops, this is a use case which is required to be catered to by fintechs. Or what do you think that, what is the next step? This crop loan is a very big use case which is required to be explored to the farmers which contribute the most in the economy. So this is one thing I would like to understand, that how the crop lane should be further digitized through various apps and through various advancements as of now.
Very pertinent area. So as I mentioned, the 2 steps to the point of repetition, Aadhaar and then financial mobility. Now, you're sitting on tons of data. And invariably, when we use Amazon, e-commerce, we're all invariably, giving our profiles in some way, intangible way. Now, the third step of what I feel is for financial technology in public delivery is what we call, someone has called it as account aggregators. What do you do with the data, right? Why don't you use the data? So this is the third step, and what is, I think India Stack calls it the Digital Empowerment and Protection Architecture, DEPA. This is where, really fintechs and the private sector can tread in. For example, you have an area where in UP, for example, which they've been paying their loans on time, and they have a good credit worthiness, the soil is good. So why don't you have apps which, capture that profiling, make a profiling, make analytics, that this area is good, this is fertile area, these people are credit worthy, we can extend crop loans to them. And they could be various digital instruments. You could have, UPI-linked instruments. And even if a farmer does not have any access to any digital mechanism, does not have is not into the formal banking system, what you could do is something called e-Rupee, E-R-U-P-I, what they call it. It's it's a beautiful thing. In UP, it's being used by the NHM, the National Health Mission, in the health sector, and it's called the Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Abhiyan Yojana, where e-Rupee vouchers are given by a doctor, right? A doctor, for example, prescribes that a pregnant lady needs an ultrasound. All ladies who are on the family way, they need regular ultrasounds to understand that everything is, I'm basically a doctor as well, so pardon me for my medical intrusion. So they read ultrasounds at regular interval. So the doctor prescribes an ultrasound. They go to the block level authorized person, collect the voucher. It's a physical voucher, right? It's e-Rupee voucher. It's something like what you get for your, when you get your PIN change for your ATM along. They go to a public designated ultrasound center. The voucher is opened. The doctor does the ultrasound free of cost, right? And they reimburse it from the government by entering the number which is in. So they redeem the voucher in that sense. So why can't such technologies be used in agriculture? Especially capturing those who don't have access to the formal. So you can have different categories of farmers. Farmers who are digitally literate, who have apps. You can use API platforms, Fintech platforms. Those who don't have access to apps, those who don't have access to a formal banking system, still, you could use these platforms. So the possibilities are endless. For example, AEPS. This is something which I wanted to again speak about. Aadhaar-enabled payment systems. Beautiful architecture. Micro ATM, a mobile ATM, an outsourced person from the bank, goes to the village level. He has a POS machine, and I've actually seen it working. I'll speak about the negative side later. But the APS, you go to the person, again, doorstep banking, and it became very popular during the unfortunate COVID pandemic. And there, just using your biometrics or Aadhaar number, you log in, and when you log in, it gives you an option. You don't need to even remember which bank account you have which bank you have your account in. You just give your Aadhaar number. It brings up a list. You just say that I want 5,000 rupees, I want to know the balance, I want to deposit. And this guy does the transaction. He has cash from the bank. He prepays. There's a limit to it, small limit, 5,000, 10,000. He pays. And then at the end of the day, when he goes back to the bank, he does the settlement. Now, again, nobody has to go to the ATM, nobody has to go to bank, it's savings of cost. So these are, again, instruments which can be used using existing technology, existing services, but you just need a little bit of financial push and innovation.
This is e-Rupee. I believe that e-Rupee is a instrument which will, because India, if you see in terms of benefit payments, India first of all adopted DBT, saved lots of leakages. Almost all the central schemes and state schemes through which it was digitized and funds are deposited into the beneficiary's account. Now, India is advancing to the next stage where the expenditure of that fund can be focused. Like money is given as a benefit for a particular purpose, for medicine purposes, like you said, or for any particular maternal purposes. So that fund is utilized only for that purpose by creating a kind of mandate or restriction at the merchant category code level. It means that that person can spend that voucher only at the selected shops. So that is a really advanced, that you are, first of all, you deposited into the bank account, you removed all the leakages, then you are also ensuring that it is spent on the right purpose. This is really e-rupee, and there is, it has, I believe that it has just started. A few schemes have only piloted, and now if it is piloted at the, or started, it starts adoption at the other sector schemes, it will be tremendously useful for government to save funds, and benefits are spent on the targeted sector. So this is really impressive. One area where I'm particularly interested in terms of, because we have seen that as digital payments are increasing, there is also, because of lack of an awareness or first time users, people get into some traps or fraud patterns. And this is actually, new fraud patterns are emerging. You hear every day that this, it can be through multiple, like SMS spoofing or many other app spoofing. So is there any solution or any roadmap that Aadhaar can play a role in reducing the use case or reducing the fraud? As you said that this trafficking area, it is solved. But do you think that Aadhaar can play a role in reducing the frauds also? This is something, a very relevant use case.
So, we have various various IDs in our country. You open your wallet and you have a driving license, you have a government ID, you have your, company ID, you have an election I card, and most of you also have a passport. But Aadhaar is the only ID which is linked to your biometrics, right? So this is what it's unique, and that's why the organization's name is Unique Identification Authority of India. It's unique. It's a unique ID because it's linked to your biometrics, which cannot be forged. There have been cases. People are very intelligent in our country. We've all seen a lot of serials and on OTT platforms alluring to that fact. So frauds, I always say behind every machine is a man. I love to say this. A fraud will always happen when there is someone behind the machine using, or rather misusing and abusing the architecture for his private profit, and that is what corruption is all about. So in Aadhaar, for example, in UIDAI, we are very conscious about corruption. We take it very, very seriously. But I can't emphasize on how seriously we take it. Every case which is reported or which comes to us from the citizen, from the resident, is taken up. It's investigated. Obviously, there are petty, I would say relatively petty corruption cases, overcharging, where the operators are immediately suspended if they are overcharging for services. Sometimes we hear of clones, which are actually not clones. And here I would like to say there's been often, because of ignorance, media sometimes reports that data has been leaked. Let me assure you, our CIDR, that means our servers in Bengaluru, are, they are state of the art. Nothing gets leaked over there. Even if I, as a part of Aadhaar, UIDAI, our ecosystem, want to retrieve an Aadhaar of someone, it has to go through layers of approval, and I have to have a case where I want it to solve a problem. I just can't pick up anyone's Aadhaar from the database. Even I can't do it. It's so secure. It's so good. So when you hear of frauds happening, frauds happen when people at the last mile, they would share their identities. For example, in APS, and this is where collaboration is very important, NPCI, UIDAI, and the state enforcement agencies. We came to hear, in fact, it was reported to us that APS was being misused for corruption, for fraudulent withdrawals. And the source was found that in Uttar Pradesh, the registry was made online. Registry means where you put your sale deeds online. And if you know, the last page has biometrics. So some very intelligent fellow took high-resolution photographs and made 3D printing, uh, 3D prints of the thumb impressions, and then used those along with an operator. And that's the key word. Just having the imprints will not lead you anywhere. If he has my imprints, he can't do anything. But he needs an operator, a person who is operating that AEPS machine to exercise that fraud. So a couple of frauds did happen. Immediately we took cognizance. The state government immediately pulled down that website. Now they are trying to introduce technology of watermarking, redacting those thumb impressions. NPCI immediately, took cognizance of this. We brought it to the matter through RBI, and since then, I can safely say that no such frauds have happened again. So it's a movement. You can't say just only one organization or one particular agency is responsible. You need awareness, and for that massive awareness amongst people, they should, if they are using digital payments for their convenience, they should also be aware of the responsibilities. And that responsibility, in fact, lies with us and the banks. So for fintech companies, for banks, they need to actually know, they should tell the people that these are what you can do. Technology side, we are doing things, for example, biometric locks. I don't know how many of you lock your biometrics in an Aadhaar app. If you don't, if nothing else from today, take this as a takeaway. Immediately go, log into your Aadhaar app and lock your biometrics. You don't need your biometrics every day. You need your Aadhaar biometrics when you're doing a sale registration,